Go ahead and have this informal discussion this evening.
The worst of it is non-notification. If I'd known from Earth that he wasn't coming, that cancels everything.
Right, right. Well, it's a moot point. We've got a lot of people here.
A lot of people here who could have been notified as well. Myself included. It's a nice night.
So, since we're not going to do anything official, we can't tonight. We will I'll at least listen, and we'll have a videotape of what you all have to say, and the other board members will have to catch up. How's that?
Can you broadcast a meeting that isn't a meeting?
I don't know.
Uh-oh, we're breaking new ground.
Okay.
Can you deputize Dale?
No. Yeah, which ones? Let's see. Let's start with. Who do we want to start with? You want to draw straws?
What do we call him?
Okay, you draw. Okay, the easiest one, the one that will be easiest to follow through on would be the Scots. If you want to address the issue with the store, that would be great. I missed the meeting where they had that discussion, but I will be happy to tell you of the concerns, and we can have a dialogue about that.
Okay, great.
So you got all the names of everybody who's here anyway. Okay. Basically, the application requests an outside license. Okay. And one of there's two issues that have come to the Selectboard's attention. Number one being, on the outside license, you say you have a controlled barrier area where people are supposed to stay with the alcohol. Is that enforced? Because we've heard reports that there are people wandering all over Creation with open containers. And we're a little bit concerned. I attended a festival in Vernon, I think it was, or Marlborough last year, where in fact they had a corralled area that only people over the age of 21 were allowed into, and there were absolutely no open containers that were allowed outside of that area. And I'm just kind of curious what enforcement you have to your restriction that says that you will have a defined area. Let me find your specific application.
You also have a unique situation up there which lacks in parking, which I know you guys are aware of, with regard to people parking on Route 30. And there is concern that people will buy beverage, finish their pizza, and walk back to their car, drive away, kind of thing. So, I mean, that was one of the things that came up, and I do see in the application that you're going to cordon off an area so many feet by so many feet, which is good. And I guess the beer and wine is sold by the pizza owner. But I think it's sold at the deli, isn't it, also? Inside?
Yeah, there's two different licenses. There's an inside and an outside.
Right, but if you're inside and you buy your pizza plate and you buy your beer to go or your glass of wine.
You cannot bring it outside.
You can?
You cannot.
You cannot?
You cannot.
Okay.
If you buy a beer inside,
you're
required to stay inside and drink it inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's heavily enforced. And the same thing with the opposite. If you buy a beer outside.
So you can't just wander over to the first stop, talk to Eddie, come back down, go outside, go to the farmer's market.
So is there an actual physical barrier, an area that's designated as an alcohol zone?
Not a physical barrier, but there is a designated area. I mean, we could talk about what to do there. There's a specific foot-by-foot radius of.
Right. You say 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, and you're not like it ends at sort of right by the parking lot, where you're not allowed to cross the parking lot with a beer or wine. You have to, if you buy beer outside, you have to stay at the bar and drink it.
Okay, so is that enforced? That was kind of the question. That is enforced. Okay. And then the other piece Craig alluded to, one of the issues that we've had with the residents of West Townsend is the fact that the farmers market creates a parking problem for an awful lot of people. And we were just wondering if there would be some way to address that, particularly since we were being told that we also had issues with the alcohol. So, it was a little bit of a concern having people with any kind of open container out, walking on Route 30, parking on Route 30, and there was just some concern at the local level from the individuals who live out there.
Yeah, I can certainly see the parking being an issue, and I guess we could talk about what to do with that. I'm not sure. It's become pretty good. The farmers market's become pretty popular.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
As well.
But we don't have a ton of parking.
As you grow, you have the growing
pains. We have to figure that out. Yeah. The church has given us permission to use their parking lot but that overflows as well.
Stuart Parker said we can use it. He's got a lot there that he said we can use for parking this year again. We started to do that last year. And, he's apparently given us permission to do it again this year, so.
So you do have some
We have some
off-road
overflow,
parking?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, it sounds like you're aware of the issues. Some signage might help, but I'm sure you're aware of that as well. I mean, if you do have new access parking,
It's honestly-
it does draw, on a good night, it does draw a good crowd.
And it's honestly something that we really do reiterate with people, like, I'll cook pizza and Eric will bartend out there, and
Yep.
it's almost, I don't wanna say we make a joke of it, but it is kind of crazy when you think about it, that you have to have a separate license for that little area outside and a separate license for inside. So we're very careful to explain that to people, that there are two different licenses and you're not allowed to go out in the parking lot with this beer. So I'm very shiny there, and I'm confident that people know that.
Okay.
I really am. I mean, we really, it's been reinforced with us, and we constantly reinforce it with people when they come.
Okay, that was the main concern, is the fact that it almost looked like free-range alcohol to some extent, and that was the biggest concern.
Right.
That there was no defined
The other thing.
area that we
Sorry.
could see, we could
Yeah.
physically see.
The other thing we were talking about was potentially about, getting the police officer to come maybe on Friday nights and help do traffic and deal, stand in the road and help, because that, it does get, in summer in particular, it gets crowded on Friday night. It might be helpful to have somebody like that to help deal with traffic.
Right.
And that would certainly help, alleviate any problem with people with alcohol, that's for sure.
Well, it may not have grown beyond your expectation, you may have hoped for this, but it really is a good venue, and people are beginning to be regulars at it. It does draw a lot of out-of-state people. It's not just a local event for,
Sure.
10 or 12 people who like to listen to music and have pizza. It does draw a pretty good crowd. One of the issues the select board has is that by signing an application, they take on a certain, I don't want to say liability, but a certain responsibility for the operation and to monitor and whatever else. And of course, they don't want to do that, so just part of it's just to clear the air, make sure everybody's aware. And you guys are probably more acutely aware of the issues than there's been some anecdotal stuff that's gotten around, just mostly with regard to parking. People don't always pull as far over onto the shoulder as they, and it is a busy road. So, but if you had a contract with a sheriff's deputy or something for a couple hours, just right at the busiest time,
Really, it's just
or
Friday.
something like that, yeah.
Like we could just do it for Friday night, because that's
Yeah.
really the only night that it's, because that's the night of the farmer's market.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I did talk to the sheriff's department, and I also talked to the state police. And I guess you folks have a contract with the state police, not with the sheriff's department.
That's correct, yeah.
But they both suggested the idea of possibly putting signage on both ends in both directions on Route 30, kind of like they do in Londonderry. If you've been over there, Londonderry puts a farmer's market ahead, particularly in the summertime when the farmer's market is open, and then they suggested possibly putting cones on the lines
To slow people down.
to slow people
Yeah.
down.
They did that when the farmer's market was here on the Common for a couple of years. They started at the foot of Harmonyville store. It would slow the traffic down if not alert people that they may want to stop and buy something. It would at least caution people that there may be people in the road or people pulling in and out, that kind of thing.
Do you feel like
Make
it
them
helped
aware.
them?
Oh, yeah.
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 That was
It's a laborious responsibility to put them up, a couple hours ahead of time or the morning ahead of time, and then take them down that night or the next morning. But it does pay dividends to do
right.
that. It does notify people that there's something going on up ahead. Right. To take a little more caution.
Okay, so I will be happy to take the information back to the rest of the select board when they show up.
Probably going
And-
to have a special meeting before the next meeting on the 25th.
We will, your license,
Yeah, I think our license expires May 1st.
May 1st, right. Well,
The
it'll
next
definitely,
meeting would be the 26th, but I think we'll probably try to schedule one before.
it'll definitely be signed, and taken care of before the deadline, one way or another.
Thanks.
So I'll make sure that they're aware that the issues with the traffic and the open containers, and we'll move forward from there. And I do appreciate you coming in, even though we didn't have a meeting.
Well, thanks for talking to us.
Sure.
There are two different licenses, right? You're aware of
Actually,
that?
I only see one, and you keep referring to two, and I only see one.
The signature page is on the outdoor permit, which goes with the actual license, but all we receive copy of that I'm aware of is the first page with your names on it, there's a second page with owner information, I believe.
No, there's two.
Okay.
Okay, you've got a description of the premise, and that's
In front.
the first floor, the two-story wooden structure, and then the back half is the 1,200 square feet behind.
You want to do a comparison?
See, this is the part that's in the front. And this is the part that we can get all of, but we don't need all of it. Yeah, so we've got the same thing.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you. Anything else from us?
I will be in touch, I'm sure.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
It's you and me, boy.
Sorry, I'll be late.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Horn with regional?
Yes.
We're just going to do an informal discussion on all the different pieces that we're trying to follow up.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I printed one out. She had an advanced look at it. I'll give it to the only other select board members here. I'll make sure the other ones get it.
Thank you, thank you.
This is Brad Horn.
Hey, Rob.
So, you know, we're in the process of reappointing all of our representatives to different committees and agencies. And we just had a question whether, number one, you wanted to continue with Windham Regional, and number two, just exactly what type of activities you've been involved in with Regional in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been, I forget, I was trying to figure out today, I wrote up this kind of a summary, and you folks know pretty much what Windham Regional does in general.
Right.
So I gave you a summary of some of the stuff that the commission has done that relates to Townshend specifically, because people always want to know what's our town getting out of this.
Right.
So that list includes the hazard mitigation plan that the staff there helped the town, right? Yeah.
We did that last, yeah, we finished that up.
Yeah. And we just got FEMA approval of that in March.
Yep.
And then the other big thing they're working on is supporting the town plan update. And then there's a number of small projects that they've been working on as well.
Do you, by some chance, have any information at all on the bus service that they were talking about putting in between Grace Cottage and Brattleboro?
I don't. I know they had some hearings on it, and I was trying to get some updates today so I can tell you folks, but I don't have anything current on that. But let me make a note and get back to you guys.
Well, there's a grant, it's a federal grant arrangement. I was one of the representatives with you, so to speak, the year prior, a year ago. And last year, my position was filled, and I just didn't have the time for it. I mean, we had a lot of meetings here, a lot of meetings in town. I tried to attend all the meetings when I was a commissioner, and it just got to be overwhelming. So I'm working for the planning commission, I'm working for the select board. But in any case, there is a bus path that's trying to be developed with a federal grant up through Route 30 corridor all the way up to Jamaica. There is talk that the grant is heavily funded up front, and then in year 2, year 3, year 4, the towns are going to subsidize it more and more. It's not going to be it's a break-even proposition, but it's going to be relatively expensive. And the last numbers I heard about I'm not even going to put the numbers out there, but it looked like it was going to be relatively expensive for Townshend. And Townshend is a heavy draw with Grace Cottage and the high school for back and forth to Brattleboro, people that have appointments in Brattleboro at the hospital there, or people that are coming up here for a variety of reasons. And that's the number I was trying to get from Matt. And I missed the last couple of meetings, but it was still in the talking phase, draft forms, and we didn't know before we got through budget season, or before we got town meeting approval on a budget, where those numbers might be, or how fast this might happen.
Right.
And usually with grants, once you get it signed, you've got a year, 18 months to begin doing stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But it has not been brought to the town governors for approval, and we didn't know. Nobody knows at this point, and it's partly because I haven't done my homework, but part of it is that it just hasn't been forward reaching enough.
We just keep getting notification that there is going to be municipal input monetarily on this, and we need to know how much.
What it is.
What our share would be and
And
how this is
what
all
our
gonna break
involvement
out.
is going to be, and the only players from Townsend that seem to be involved in this at this point in time were the high school and the hospital. You know, so it's a little bit difficult for us to foot the bill for this when in fact we haven't been at the table to have as part of the discussions.
Right. Let me talk to Matt and see if I
Yeah,
get you,
yeah.
get you an update on that.
Yeah, just as to where it is, when it might be starting up, and we know some of the people that are involved, but it's one of those things that slides down the priority list, and every couple of months I get mail from him or
Yeah.
get a reminder that this is still in the queue, and doesn't seem to be finalized yet. But if there are decisions that the board is gonna have to make, or if we are gonna have to look for funding, or if we need to see other people pony up instead of the town, then we need to be thinking about that a couple of months in advance. These things don't happen overnight anymore, so.
Right.
So you are interested in continuing on
Yeah,
in that position?
Yeah,
Okay.
for your information, I'm involved in town plan reviews. I do a lot of that. Typically, they want the commissioners to be like on 2 committees, and there's probably 15 committees or so. And all the work's done in the committees. The one I'm most involved in is the brownfield redevelopment stuff, because that's kind of my professional background, is hazardous waste site cleanup stuff. And so, and that program doesn't impact Townshend much. I brought a little map of where all the sites were, and of course they're all Brattleboro, Bellows Falls, Putney, they're industrial sites. So, but from a region-wide standpoint, the Brownsfield Committee has brought in over its last 5-10 years, something like a little under $4 million from federal grant money. They apply for grants, and then the committee gives it out to applicants who have, you know, contaminated properties or want to redevelop them, and they're stuck because they don't have the financing they need. So it includes a lot of big redevelopments around here. The Mover in Deerfield, the new building that they have, the Waypoint Center in Bellows Falls, the parking garage in Brattleboro, the youth theater. All these are sites that we've given here and there, you know, money to get them moving along.
Benefits the economy, benefits the environment.
Yeah.
Okay, well then we certainly, as we get into the appointments, we have a few more to make. Well, certainly then consider reappointing you. And if you do get the information on that transportation study and what's going on with that local bus, I'd greatly appreciate moving
But
forward.
also,
with
if
that.
there's anything interesting going on, or if you need advice and consent on something or whatever, you just keep tabs of them.
Good.
Just, throughout the year.
Good.
You don't
Yeah.
have to come in, I know you're busy, you're off on.
Yeah, thank you. I travel a lot, unfortunately, but yeah, thank you. And I talked to John Bennett, who's helping the planning commission. I didn't get a hold of Art. I wanted to touch base with Art. Make sure.
He's in Florida, but we do have a meeting, I work for them, the planning commission as well.
Okay.
They do have a meeting on Thursday night with John Bennett, we should have a draft. It's gonna be a rough draft at this point, but there should be a draft on Thursday night for the other commissioners to take a look at, and hopefully we can hammer that out in the next 2 or 3 sessions and get it into a semi-final print form, so the board can look at it and have a public hearing and then finalize it, do the final editing and get it published and get it approved.
Good.
But hopefully by the beginning of the fiscal year, which isn't gonna happen, but hopefully by the end of July.
Yeah, I know the old plan's expired.
The old plan expired on March 31st, and I've been pushing the commission to do something, and it took them until September to hire John Bennett, and then they all just kind of disappeared a little bit, so. But he's doing like 5 of them at the same time. So
Yeah,
He's good.
Really knowledgeable.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, thank you very much for your time,
Yeah,
for
thank
coming
you
in,
all.
speaking to us.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. And thanks for the update here.
Okay, so let's go ahead, ballistas.
Craig, please remove us from the agenda.
Okay, we don't have a meeting,
Oh, you don't, okay.
but we can take up the agenda.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
well, thanks for coming.
then, see, I need to talk to you, I know you've made a special request. So,
Time clocks.
Kurt, why don't we go ahead with you?
Sure, just got a few things. Our bill at Patriot,
Yep,
went over every line item on every sheet there with the guy, and after arguing and talking loud. he's gonna take $504.73 off the bill.
Are we going to actually get a revised bill?
Yes.
That- Okay,
Yep.
so we'll actually have something that we can put this all
Yeah,
together.
I talked to Craig about this the other day, and I called him
Yeah,
today.
nothing's coming.
And I called him today to see if he got the bill, because I've been working on this since our last meeting, so.
Okay,
It's,
But since the last meeting, nobody's called looking for it, so I know something's in the works. And if we get a revised one, then I'll know which one, because I'm sure there's one or two there that we do need to pay. But I know that there are a couple of them that you probably have adjusted, at least to that much money, so.
I mean, a lot of the
That'll be
parts,
fine.
a lot of the stuff, parts, stuff we needed anyways, of course.
You're gonna have to pay for parts.
Can't do anything like that with the computer code. The signs, all the signs were returned. I made a list of the signs I returned. Jack Davis is his name. And they're gonna work up a credited bill for us,
for Atlantic Group.
Atlantic Borough.
Yeah.
So we can continue doing the signs that. And I got a letter from Craig, a couple weeks ago, on Depot Road, a blind person sign. You want a blind person sign?
Nope, I don't think so anymore. I think that the gentleman on Depot Road, Mr. McNeil, has gone. Do I understand that he's?
And nobody's lived there in a while.
He's left the residence. I believe he's living in Brattleboro now. I don't know if that's permanent or temporary. He did request it, and I guess it's our responsibility, but in as much as we do have a sign, it seemed to make sense that we just move it down there. But I understood from Anita that he's no longer there, no longer going
No, he's
to.
been there for.
Well, no, probably a month anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it got really cold, he ran out of fuel, I think the state police picked him up and they found a home for him. That having been said, I know his,
More than a month ago.
maybe 6 weeks, I know his residence was moldy and other things, that he was having breathing problems and things, so I don't know that he would return when the weather warms. I think that would be a situation where he'd probably vacate.
So my suggestion would be to go ahead and
Put it up.
put those signs on hold, but take them into the garage, just in case we do need,
Sure.
if he comes back this summer, to put those up.
Okay. And I've been working with the planning and the state of V-Trans. I just had a meeting today with the district tech for grants. And Megan.
Wrong.
Yes.
Wrong, yeah.
And we have a couple of things that we have to do with it, which is, of course, is our infrastructure grant, our infrastructure inventory. And also now they have road erosion inventory. And also culvert and bridges. We'll do the whole thing over again. And the matching funds will be in kind. And I called Craig today because I need numbers to make it work on in kind. And on Plum Hill, there's been that clay slide before
Is it
Ellis.
headed down the hill?
Huh?
Do I need to run? Is it headed down?
No.
Okay.
But it keeps coming out in the road, blocking the ditch, and it'll work. So we've been up to like 4 or 5 times this winter. And that's one of the things, this Act 46?
Yeah.
Act 46, not 64. Act 46, Clean Water Act, and which would also help us to reinforce and armor that bank with riprap and stuff, and that's what the other grant is. That's what they're pushing for us to do, is start getting this, they want turbidity going into the lakes and rivers and stuff like that. So that's also going to be matching in kind to our funds, which all this new stuff, there's so much stuff to read and paperwork, it's ridiculous. And
Join the club.
it's,
And not to take things off Kathy's agenda, is the network inventory done,
Okay.
approaching
I was just
done?
gonna ask that.
Well, the highway financial is done, they're gonna sign that as soon as they find the signature,
Oh,
it's for them to sign.
I asked Megan today.
But there's a statement that goes in with it, which is compliance with the roads and bridge standards that we signed in 2014, it's no big deal. But it says we do or do not have network inventory done,
Right.
and before they can sign that.
When we were at the
obviously-
meeting, they had the meeting here, that nobody
Yeah,
showed
I
up.
remember.
Yeah, mark that done because it will be done this summer. And it will be, because that'll also pay for the 10%.
Okay, so it can be marked done, and
Yeah.
that'll give us the extra 10 or whatever.
Yes, because that'll follow through.
So when we
Cool.
sign that, the next time we all.
Well, it's check done, so you're signing on the penalty of perjury that it is done, so there you go.
What else is new?
Maybe done by the end of summer.
I'm always under somebody's
But
thumb.
I have to get this done to make sure that, that is,
Otherwise, I'll come find you when I go to jail,
okay.
just so you know.
Yeah. And been grading roads, got all the trucks, been the past couple of days doing shop work, getting the wings off the trucks. The tree came down the other night, we chipped that up on Route 35, cleaned that up by Valley Cares and stuff today, just just doing what we do.
Okay, is that all you really have?
That's
Chris?
really on that.
Okay, I've got, even though this isn't a meeting, I've got some things I just want to bring to your attention, just so you're aware.
I mean, in a new page.
Okay, you get your new page.
You send it.
Well, it's not that bad, the list isn't that long.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the first one is that we've got bills here for B&B Jane, and you heard, I was not at the last meeting, but did they have
I
a
did hear
discussion
that.
about the two different prices?
Right.
Can you check to see what's going on? We're talking about $41 a set on that,
Higher.
that set was back ordered.
And that's, next day I called them up and they never called me back, because I had to deal with one salesperson. He's on the road and he never called me back, and I'll be honest with you, I forgot all about it.
Okay, if you could follow up on that, that's in this group of bills here, that's not gonna get paid tonight again.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was $41 more than the last set.
it was $41 a set more.
About 250,
200
about 250 on the whole.
Yeah, it was 246, I believe, total. 246
Yeah,
was
we
the
got
difference.
6 sets, right?
So if you could check on that before we actually get to the bills. The Ford, is it back in the shop again?
Yeah, they fixed it, and then we had a drip on the floor. And,
Of course, I didn't think nothing of it. Was there for 2 days. The drip on the floor. And then, so today, this morning, I went to go check growth because it rained heavy last night and stuff. Open up the radiator, and as soon as I did that, it seemed to vent it, and then it started dripping on the floor. Like, so I put a bucket underneath it, and I said, when I get back, and then I got back to the meeting, and after the meeting, I called them up. They said, bring it right down. Brought it right down. Went to V-Trans. I was going to pick up some guardrails, but nobody was there. And by the time I got back, they called up and said it was all fixed. And they replaced the petcock on the radiator.
Do you have it back?
I gotta go pick it up tomorrow morning.
You okay? Would you do me a very, very big favor when you go and pick it up? Would you get it inspected? It's at least 6 months out of inspection.
no, it's 2 months.
I think it's a little more than that, isn't it?
February.
So February? Or would
It
you
is.
get inspected?
No, we talk about it every day. Not every day, almost.
Just before we end up with a ticket on it?
Yep.
Okay. And the other thing that happened over
I'd
the,
rather wear a Ford, slap a sticker on it before you pick it up.
yeah,
Like that.
the other day, they went out and were working on security cameras out of the
Yes.
town garage, trying to get them cleaned up and working again. They are back up and they're running now to address the issues that people leaving appliances.
The appliance, because
Appliances that are not supposed to be out of the recycling or out of the compactor. We're gonna start trying to get license plates for that. And another thing that happened while they were out there working on the cameras is we had 2 pickup trucks pull in and start shoveling sand into the back of the pickup trucks to the point where they left loaded. And who knows how many times they made that trip. So my request is that we shut the gates. Because we can't have them trucking it out unattended for 2 days over the weekend. And they'll empty that sand shed in a minute.
you want it locked or just shut and bolted? There you go, just clipped.
You mean I was having gates?
Yeah.
I don't know what the setup is actually out there, but we need to.
I mean, I can lock them, but that, then I'll have,
Arnold has to have a key.
Arnold has to have the key, we'll all have the same key
fire
lock,
department.
fire department have the key, Windham, solid waste will have to get a key.
Yeah.
I mean, cause I've had Arnold lately now put the back of the,
Well, you also get deliveries from Napa and UniFirst and all that.
I put the blade of the compactor out, I had him start doing that last week, and, so now it's sealed off and back, you just can't fill the back up. And that seemed to help out a lot, because there was no purple bags this week so far.
Well, we're gonna take care of trying to find out with the cameras, you know, who's coming in, who's doing it after hours. But the fact that they're in there shoveling sand and salt into pickups, we need to stop.
Yeah, there's no reason this time of year to shut
No.
the sand. So.
No, somebody's rebuilding their driveway at our expense. Yeah, I know, why
Well, we
sand?
saw that on camera. We replaced the hard drive in that computer, which was no big deal, but it had failed.
Was it winter time or was it sand and?
Oh, this is last Sunday. When I,
Last Sunday,
yeah,
okay.
Rick Hickey said he had a hard drive, so we went up there and popped that
Were
in.
you there when they were doing it?
Yeah, but I saw it on camera. I watched a truck pull in, and then
Have
two
you
trucks.
drove by
Pulled, huh? No, 2 trucks pulled out, and they were loaded. No, I didn't stop and talk to them. I'm not going to get into a fisticuffs with somebody.
You get plate numbers?
No. But one of the things with the cameras, you may be able to increase the resolution on that, but I'm probably going to get up
Right
there.
now, we cannot read plate numbers.
I know.
On the
I'm probably gonna get up there and clean the lenses, but when I do that, I may adjust it so that the one on the far left just catches the edge of the fuel depot, most of the recycling, the other one catches the rest of the recycling and a little bit of the Arnold Shack. But the one that's on the, where you guys park, I may turn toward the gate. As you suggested that anyway, because then at least you would be able to catch a license plate going out.
We talked about that before.
Yeah, I've talked about it a number of times, I just never realized that you just climb up on a ladder and then the
Then we
ladder.
even talked about putting, because we got another spot for another camera, putting a camera.
Right, but that's an expense, and then Warren Beatty's gotta find the time to run cat cable or whatever, but in any case, if I take the one that's on the corner right there in the front and turn it toward the gate
Might be able
instead,
to get it.
instead of looking at the compactor, we won't start at the compactor all day. At least then you should be able to, that should be good enough resolution to at least figure out who it is. Not that it happens very often, and not that
I
we,
was just
not that
gonna
we're-
say, putting a chain up and padlocking across both sand and salt, I mean, someone's gonna be pretty energetic to start taking shovelfuls from inside the way to salt shed,
the
sand shed and getting it to the back of the truck if
Sand's
someone's
on
wrong.
center, so you gotta pull all the way in there for that. And everybody takes a bucket or two now and then, I mean, I do, you know, everybody does when
Well,
you get ice.
that's-
But I was thinking for what they're in the off season,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm
you
a
know.
taxpayer, it's entitlement, but truckloads in tandem.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Yeah, because in the summertime we park back in.
Well, Rick and I were debating, why the hell would you do that? Why wouldn't you go down to the pit where there's clean washed stone? and
So
you
don't
take
tell
those-
them, don't get the
Hey,
secrets
hey,
away.
hey. Yeah, because we put the tractor near the lawnmower on it, and we put the chipper in there, we put the chloride tank in there in the summertime.
Just as a
In the
man.
sand shed, yeah, just to keep it out of the weather.
Well, it needs to be dealt with right now, because if somebody's doing some
Let me
work.
we could shut the gates and just put a clip on it, and people are generally lazy, so they won't want to get out.
You're gonna need a big orange sign or something on it too, just so people don't drive.
Something that said, well, something that says closed.
You don't think that 30 feet of orange steel's hanging out there is enough?
I've driven through one of those before.
What were you on?
Plus, if someone pulls in here,
My headlights are- my headlights
it's
are
not
on.
got a reflective thing on it, you actually, town could be freaking sued on it.
Come on now.
Broken, lawyers win everything.
I'll run down WW, get some reflectors, screw on.
That was just something that came up, so, you know, as they start working on the cameras, we'll kind of keep all of that in mind, trying to find out who's coming in and doing things they're not supposed to be doing when the dump is
I don't mind people
closed.
taking sand in winter time, but nowadays it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just stealing.
Okay, so that, other than that, that was the only thing I had for you, were just the gates and then the,
Jane.
and the inspection on the Ford. Okay?
And you know what vendors show up after hours, so you'll probably want to notify them as well. I mean, if the gates are going to be clipped. I mean, it's not like I saw someone showing up anymore at hours, so that's fine, but.
In the winter time,
In the wintertime, you got people coming and going all
I
the time.
just assume leave the gates open in the winter time.
Well, and that makes sense to, you know, when people are just coming to get enough to take care of the end of their driveways.
Right now it's wrong.
Yeah, it's just wrong now to be pulling truckloads of sand
I
out.
agree.
So,
You gotta give it to
When solid
them.
waste
They're
is
working
correct.
for it though.
Oh,
One shovel load at a
One
time.
thing before I forget, on our new time clock policy,
Uh-huh.
it says there's only one payroll deduction to be done.
oh, yeah,
And, you know, I have 2 loans out, and the payroll deduction was used because you get a lower interest rate. And they've already been set up, and one is down in Brattleboro, and the other one's at the credit union. And they were already set up a long time ago, and that's why I went with the payroll deduction, you get a cheaper rate.
well, but you can do the payroll deduction. Is it strictly or an automatic withdrawal? Which is it, a payroll deduction or automatic withdrawal?
Well, it gets deducted here and goes to the,
But you can set it up so that if the ACH goes to, your paycheck goes to a specific bank, then you can set up with your bank that payment, wherever that other payment is automatically sent from your bank to whatever the loan payment has to be made. It doesn't necessarily have to come from this house because it costs us for every one that we do. It costs us.
what's it cost?
It's $2.70 per ACH plus the time to figure out the percentages. So if you could
Yeah,
just,
but that could be a benefit. Instead of the $15,000 I saved the town without taking the insurance, maybe it would just deter the cost of the payroll deduction. Because that's a benefit I don't take. You could use this as a benefit.
I see, okay, so you want two ACHs. I think what we want to avoid though is having the bookkeeper sit back there and spend the time to figure out all the percentages that go along. If it's just you, that's fine. But the more people that we get involved, the more of that type of work is going on. And we're having a heck of a time just doing books at the moment.
Well, let me talk to the bank and Brad, they'll see it.
If you could set up an automatic withdrawal, you know, you decide which of your banks you want that to go to, and then set up an automatic withdrawal from there to make the other payment. That would be essentially the same thing. Okay, and just talk to Terry the next time you come in, and I think she was going to talk to you anyway, just to see which bank you chose to go with. But just ask her any questions, and she'll be able to answer those for you. Okay? Anything else?
That's all I got.
I do appreciate you coming in, even though we're not going to do anything tonight.
You need me calling.
Thanks, sir. Okay, Mr. West, you've been here forever. Oh, and
CVC pagers, is that highway?
that was, yeah, question.
Oh,
We got fire
CVC
department
pager.
too, here.
Yes, that's highway.
That's highway. Do you have, how many pagers? Because I think we're being charged for 12.
3.
3?
We have 3.
But do you
No, we
pay,
have 2.
do you pay, and see, this is what we can't figure out.
240 annually or something?
It was 300 and
Okay,
something.
all right, I can't remember. It's in the
Do
warrants.
you pay an annual fee on the pagers, you know?
I do not know.
Well, that happens in-house, and historically we have, but in looking at it, I thought it said there were a dozen pagers or something, which
It
indicated
says,
that it wasn't
it
highway.
says quantity 12,
Quantity 12.
but does that
But maybe
mean
that's one a month.
12 months?
12 months.
Okay. No, like state police, and mutual aid, they have my pager number.
Okay, so I've got fire department here. Do you guys have pagers as well?
No, we don't have any of those, no.
Okay, so you
Yeah, they have scanners.
We have this, we have our own fire stuff.
we would be getting.
We don't have no
a bill for-
CCV bills, no.
Okay, all
We were
right,
just
so that's
trying to
highway.
figure out what was going on.
And that's my pager.
Okay.
It's roughly about 20 or some odd dollars a month roughly. I used to-
Yeah, and that's what this one is. I did a history on it, and it was all highway, which is fine. But they indicated 12, but maybe it's for 12 months, so that would indicate.
But I believe that
That would roll
Kurt
over.
does have 2, because didn't you always have a designated one in case you weren't able?
Yeah.
When I was on the board, we always had the 2.
Matter of fact, I just took my shirt off into town and put the sweatshirt on, took my pager off. Yeah.
Okay, well, it was just a question that came up when we were looking at quantity.
No, 12 months.
Okay, thank
2
you.
pagers.
Anything else? Are you all done now?
Oh,
No,
I'm
you're never done.
done.
That was
Yes,
a
I'm
bad
gonna call-
question.
We might get out here by
Okay,
7 o'clock, so
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Kurt. Dale,
The only thing I had was, did you receive the letter from the Windham Solid Waste?
I just,
Retaining that, I figured you just probably got that to digest that. I just gotten a copy, I was actually not on my radar. So
Yeah,
it was kinda off my radar, so I was kinda snowballed by it, but
Well, we're who's gonna show up on the plan, but
I think Irvin probably was the one that went to the last meeting, he can
Yeah.
explain
we're
it.
talking about the plastic decision?
Yes,
The fact that they're only gonna take,
ones
1
and
and
twos.
2?
and just so you guys know, that is truly, that's the only thing in the law that's required by
Well,
us as being a transfer station.
the problem is we're not gonna be able to separate out the others, because people don't bother right now. There's all
And
kinds of
that's
stuff.
gonna be, that's gonna be the education portion, or,
Yeah, Arnott's gonna, yeah, okay.
I honestly think in the long run, I know some people say we need to get rid of doing the trash, but I think you really need to look at,
I heard that a while back.
but the thing is you see, think about this though, is we actually could probably find a vendor in the sense, Triple T might just come up and put a regular dumpster and be single source recycling, and still we can offer it, but it's gonna cost us a little on the extra. But the thing is look at how much of a benefit having the trash
Well,
and
it's-
being able to cost effective.
It's these little changes on the margin, which aren't on the margin at all. I mean, that really, because if Windham Solid Waste is gonna restrict what we can throw in the glass and plastic tin recycling bins,
It's gonna increase the.
it's not gonna change anything. People are gonna throw the same amount in there, but it's gonna cost them a fortune to sort it out.
And vice versa, it's gonna increase our tonnage
Right,
on our side of the trash end of it.
right.
And the thing is sometimes, yeah, it's still a good thing, but it might be we can find a better way of dealing with it and actually work out the benefit in the long run. And I really think it could be used to be looked at, but I just don't want to be a little refundable,
Let's use it for road building and burning plastic. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
For heat.
you did not just say that.
Yeah, I did, on camera.
but I
Good
just,
idea.
I think it's, I wanted to make sure you guys are aware that you knew I knew what was
Just got the, I was a week late in getting the mail out of the post office box for this.
I just knew that you probably just got it just like I did on Saturday in the mail.
Yeah.
So the thing was, is I just wanted you to know that I was aware of it, and then if there was
Yeah.
anything we needed to kind of hash out, which with a
Yep.
full board, even the regular guys wouldn't know that either, so. Just wanted to throw it out there that there is possibly some other options, and the long-term thing is one thing that everyone needs to remember is that, yes, we do pay a lot to Windham Solid Waste to manage this, but we also, there's a cost there that nobody knows and really thinks about, is that the town is liable to manage every bit of the trash that's hauled out of here, even by private contractors, in which Windham Solid Waste right now manages that and keeps care of that track and that record.
Well, that's what I mean. If it needs to be separated, then that can't continue to fall on them to separate it if they're giving us notice. That they
And I think obviously, I think they're doing it for financial reasons.
Oh, yeah.
You're not receiving any money on it.
No.
You can't sell it. It ain't going nowhere, so it's building up down there just as much as it's building up here.
At the same time, we can't afford the staff to sort it out, and educating the public isn't gonna happen, so. Arnold isn't the watchdog at the transfer station that he would need to be in order to make.
And the thing is too, is we still have the 24/7 box, so people go in and out.
Not if the gates
You had
closed.
to be able to secure that too.
Not if the gates closed, then we would probably just eliminate the recycling of.
People will still walk it over.
Yeah, they'd leave it then.
But you can't eliminate the recycling, you gotta offer it somehow, in some way.
Yeah.
If you're a transfer, because the thing is we're actually considered a transfer station, so you're actually a dump on wheels.
Actually not, because we haven't done the permits yet, but that's.
Well, that's
That's
a story for another night,
time.
but there is definitely some there.
Alright,
Did they ever get any dollar amounts set on the amount they were going to go up on the tonnage? Because I still need to know what to price my bags at.
I haven't saw much information. There have several committee meetings about that. Right
That
now,
doesn't
actually
do-
tonight there's one.
You know, we're going into July 1st, if we're gonna have to go up on the bags, first of all, we have to meet, and get together, if that can ever happen, and decide on a price, and then have to inform the public. So if they're gonna have to go up to cover these costs, the towns need to know soon.
Right.
we need to talk
And
over about
the
that
thing
last.
is, I think they've already voted and approved the budget, and you saw those numbers, and that's what they're operating on.
Yeah, but it still doesn't give us a per ton, so we can sit down and figure out actually what our costs
The
would
per
be.
ton is regular salvage, and they're not, I don't think
That's
they're.
different. You see, your trash goes to Triple T, not to, Windham Solid Waste just deals with the recycling part, that's just a separate animal.
Right, and we
Beside
have,
your tonnage and your
we
trash.
have their assessment, but the other component of that.
Triple T would be the one
Where
who's
the
calling
other
out how much is he going up on his tonnage.
Which I don't think he is,
I know he did think about making adjustments there for a little while.
but
Well, like I said, if we're gonna have to play with the bag prices,
we're gonna have to do it pretty soon, because we need to order more bags if we're going that route.
Okay, so Mr. Russ, did you have something for us?
No.
No? Okay. Then, Mr. Lake, you wanted to talk to us about the possibility of being an EMD?
Yes.
I've got a dilemma in my hand because I can't go into an executive session to discuss
We
that.
don't have a meeting. But you're more than welcome to come forward, we can shut the camera off, and you can have a discussion with the board members that are here.
Totally fine, totally fine. I'm here to answer whatever questions you have. I sent forward last night some
Just
information
copy the box.
basically about me. So you had something before I came here. And just came to answer any questions you might have, or?
Well, I think the biggest question I would have, are you willing to take on the role of dealing with all the communication that comes down concerning emergency management from Windham Solid Waste, because it is oppressive. It is oppressive.
When regional.
Excuse me, yes.
Well, a lot
Solid
of
waste. Well, solid waste fits.
a lot
You were
of
looking right at me when you said that, and I said, no.
Best I see, because I don't, my experience has been dealing from kind of a, here's what they're telling us we need to do and fixing it. I've not been the kind of the center point of the conduit.
Okay,
So-
for beginning that discussion.
Yeah,
so to speak.
so, I don't see where it's a problem. Most of the things that I've dealt with before just take organizing and kind of,
Most of the communications actually you can jettison because they're announcements for training sessions. And unless you're trying to coordinate something for fire department or deputies or something like that, you can ignore many of those. There are some changes in the requirements for the emergency operation plan that have come into play. That plan is actually due at the end of this month, and I've got to put it before the board to sign at the next meeting if we have a meeting. I'm just going to throw that little phrase in there every time now, if we have a meeting at the next meeting. But anyway, we need to morph into that. But there's stuff that just keeps getting added on. We now have to take care of, do allocations to take care of pets in an emergency. What was the other component?
I can't
of that?
remember what the
Oh, it's
other-
daycare. You got to treat children differently.
And trailers.
And trailers.
You have to deal with the
Trailer park.
trailers, yeah.
Right. And some of those things apply, some of them don't apply, but they walk all over common sense and the fact that people have been doing this for 300 years, whatever, they've been doing it forever, and they can do it on their own to some degree. We're not a big city where you have a lot of people who really, if the power goes off, they don't have a clue. They get lost and die. I mean, we have people that are pretty self-sufficient out here. If there's an emergency, people do pull together. We need to have somebody in an emergency management directorship capacity to help coordinate those big issues. But some of the requirements get trivial, they get expensive, they get obnoxious, they get ornery, and yet they're required in order to get,
You mentioned FEMA.
your compliance with FEMA and National Flood Insurance Program and all of this stuff. You have to plug in. So anyway, those are some of the things that we're facing this month. With regard to the mail that comes in, it's just there's a lot of traffic out there.
yeah, I believe it.
And then we don't have anybody here that's taking any of that seriously enough to even read it carefully. She's inundated with it, being the chair. So everything that comes through looks even quasi-official. She gets linked on. I get a lot of it and ignore a lot of it, but.
Well, I think doing triage on it, whatever the pile is sitting there, and hitting what's the date is what's going to govern how it moves, and see what happens.
Well, it's like the high school's an evacuation center. It's listed on the sheets. It's part of the emergency, and yet nobody can get into the high school because nobody's got a key. Nobody at the high school knows how to set it up over there or wants to let a bunch of strangers from Valley Cares come in if the building's on fire or flooded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's that kind of coordination, and you find yourself stumbling a lot. They loaded the buses up there at that fire to bring them down here, and then I guess they turned in the driveway and took them to Brattleboro instead. I mean, it was one of those make it up as you go along, or take your best options, but that doesn't work. It doesn't work if people are in serious and at critical risk.
And at the moment, there are discussions going on with active shooter scenarios at Leland Gray, with Leland Gray, the town, and the hospital.
Yeah.
so they're in that
The town
process
should
right
have
now.
a seat at the table, just,
Well, yes and no.
I've done some of that. I've done some of that planning for all types of schools. So I worked with the state police and my agents, two different agencies on those types of things.
Well, I know that they're in the process of having that discussion right now next door. And rescue's involved with that, the town's involved with that, the hospital's involved with that. The supervisory union is actively involved with that. So they're making attempts to put those pieces together. We have purchased Knox boxes for the high school, the elementary school, the hospital, and this building. And we're just waiting. In fact, on this agenda that we're not going to go down is the discussion of the policy governing the Knox box keys, which we're hoping that an EMD will in fact be responsible for the distribution of, making those decisions as to who should be having and holding the keys to the city, so to speak. Now, the one question I would have is, are you willing to then participate with the LEPC? I know you have been active with LEPC, so you'd be willing to represent Townsend in that capacity? Okay. What else am I missing? I wasn't really ready to have my meeting go to south. That's not what I was gonna say, but south. Darn
Two
it.
former members here to draft. I mean, you could.
Yeah, I can draft them all, huh?
That doesn't make a quorum. Apparently not.
Apparently not. They both gave you dirty looks. But, you know, if you're interested, again, we will have to finish out our appointments. This is one that we have to get the plan signed shortly. As soon as I get a board together, we can hopefully get some of these appointments done. And if you're interested in it, we've had nobody who really showed any interest whatsoever. Okay, we will certainly put your name forward on that to see what the other board members have to say, and then we'll be in touch with, basically, once we give your name to regional, it's all yours. I will forward everything to Craig and he can forward it on to you.
The demands aren't that heavy right now, but we do need to have a plan. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you are appointed, and I don't see any reason why, but if you are, then I'll be in touch with you pretty quickly. And the first thing on the agenda the next couple of weeks, we just have a review of the plan, which was a pretty good plan a couple of years ago, and it's probably going to have to be tweaked. But there are a couple of things that we have to insert into it to bring it into compliance. But anyway, you and I can go over that and get the board to sign it. And
I went out and I spent some time looking at some of the things like the plan. There's a model for the plan on
Yep.
the website. So I went through that before I sent you out that memo the other night, and I went through some of the other things that were there. So it seems pretty straightforward.
yeah,
Just a lot of work.
we can walk through a copy of this one. We got a couple of copies, but I mean, we didn't really update it last year because we didn't have a director, but obviously you have to annually re-adopt it, and it hasn't been changed very much in the last couple of years. We just keep adopting the old one, change the date, change a couple names in it, and go forward without rewriting it. But it needs a look at. So
Yeah. We may end up having to do that this year, but. You know.
there are some things we need to add this year. That's why I was saying the next couple of weeks that might be the first order of business. After that,
There's a lot of requirements, but then there's also things that you could put into it that makes it even that much better.
Okay, well, then we'll certainly let you know. Like I say, if we get our meeting together and figure out what we're doing, it would be nice to know what we're doing.
really appreciate the offer.
Absolutely.
It's nice to have a fresh hat too.
Yes, absolutely.
Different. Because that's what I always say. I was a former EMD, but then when I became the fire chief in my town, I previously lived it. It was like I can't do both.
Yeah.
You can't do both. It's good.
Okay, well, is there anything else anybody wants to discuss or be disgusted about? The only thing I will actually say here, so it's on the record for those of you who are here, is I have a meeting at the end of this week with a representative from Eagle Creek to go through the new facility and have a discussion. That's the electric generation of the dam. And find out exactly what's involved and what's going to happen and what kind of timeline we're on. So
One thing I knew, they were generating power on one side each. They were like tested.
I have no idea. I was in contact today.
They're actually pretty close.
And we'll see what's going on with Eagle Creek since we didn't have any discussion prior to the construction on that, and see where we go.
So that's coming online?
It's coming online according to Mike, and he's talked to PV. I talked to Mike beginning of the year real quick. You guys need to get this on the grand list. I mean, the Brian. I think you were on the board when we were. Remember Lori Garg and Blue Heron and all that. She came and got the board to sign off on helping with the application and the permit.
That would be 15 years ago.
Well, no, it's 2008, 2009. I know, it seems like it. But she was here discussing that. But one of the promises she made at that point, out of the blue, was that we would realize like 10 to 12,000 in property taxes because it is taxable, even though it's on federal land.
Yeah.
It is taxable. And in looking at that is correct. So I talked to Mike in the Lister's office and said, you really need to bring this. They'd forgotten all about it. So anyway, they can't really do the assessment. PBR is coming down, property tax value.
Is there any talk from the dam of
Oh yeah.
fixing it?
Not a,
Are we talking the water, or are we talking about?
Water quality,
So you can roll a kayak across that?
water quality is being looked at, dredging is being looked at.
I request we take the Townshend Lake sign down, because we have beaver dams that are bigger and deeper than that.
Well, one of the problems with Eagle Creek is the razor wire now greeting you at the entrance and the floodlight that winds you when you try to cross the dam at night. But there are a couple of issues that are going on out there, including payment in lieu of taxes. We got some federal people.
Well, it'd be good to get some money from them.
Well, it'd be good to get something after, yeah, it's been the same since 1969, same
Well,
payment.
Rich Hubie was working pretty hard on that. He was
Oliver
making-
Olson's involved, we
making
got Leahy's
headway,
office,
and
Welch's office, and Sanders' office when they can find a minute.
Oliver took it up.
Oliver's taken it up, but we've been down,
Twice.
a couple of board members have been down to, and a couple of planning commission member, I've been down to the Connecticut River Valley Flood Control Commission, Greenfield offices. They meet 3 times a year or something. We're down there in December, we're down again in March, presenting a case. We got some press out of that. But anyway, there is some interest. These things take forever, but there is some interest in trying to get something done. But right now, we've just got a notice from the owner of Eagle Creek Hydro. They've been, 5 years they've owned this thing, they decided to put it in, and now they're gonna engage with the town. I mean, there was no heads up, meet and greet, be neighborly until this point.
Well,
And now they've heard probably from Department of Taxes that they're gonna get taxed pretty heavily. And once they start generating, the state's gonna take a share.
It'd be great if Townshend could get some money from that.
Oh, it should. It
should
really,
be able
really
to
should.
negotiate
Townshend's
the
got an
appraisal
awful
on
lot
that.
of- awful lot of federal
Well, I'm
money.
gonna take a real hard look at the appraisal when it comes in, because they're saying, well, we can't tax them until they actually start generating, and that's not true. It's physical property it's a physical plan. They have poles, they have a building, they have septic, they have whatever. They've got, I don't know if they have septic, but they've got assets on a foundation. And
Yeah, it was a long-
apparently they spent $4.5 million there, so they must have something.
I don't know, we get to see.
We get to see.
In the
My electric rates aren't
public
really
can't have, members of the public can go. I'd like to see it.
I have no idea,
Well, we're
I don't
meeting
even
on
know.
Thursday. We'll find out if we can get a key, because there's some skeletons we need to drop down a big hole somewhere.
I'd like to see it.
I'll go get the ice, all right.
Yes, please. But no, that would be interesting to see how that works. And we haven't gotten very far on the pilot piece. We made a lot of noise.
Yeah.
We had all three congressional offices involved. We had our local legislators involved. But it's
Well, it's been an
technically,
ongoing thing.
well, it's technically the governor. It is the governor's decision as to whether or not he wants to request that Connecticut and Massachusetts pay their fair share.
Yeah.
And
They should. I mean,
at this point in time, nobody has been willing to push, and the governor has not been willing to step up to the plate. Any governor up to this point.
No.
And with the new governor coming in, you're gonna start the whole cycle over again. So, who knows?
It might be best just to wait and say the speech then.
That could be. You know,
Yeah, but it's been ongoing since.
it has. And
We
it-
have this issue every 8 years, whatever it comes to.
I remember being a kid when they totally dredged that. The last time a total dredge.
Well,
I
there's
remember
no,
going down watching the youth, it was pretty
The
cool.
last release, I think, was in 92 or 93, accidental out of Ball Mountain. And they dumped out on how many cubic yards in the 90s. But ever since then, it's been full. Irene didn't help.
Irene fell in. They
Right. So,
Well, the flood of '87 didn't help it either.
don't have any say on it, even though it's in
so
there.
if you want to be gone, I guess you can call this officially done?
Yeah, I sent off an email, but I haven't heard back.
Oh, okay, I don't know
Jeff,
what to tell Rick to
he
take
made-
back.